Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all of you for being here. Culture, commerce, and credibility. I mean, they're three different words, but they're so intertwined, right? At the end of the day, we're either running brands or we're helping brands grow their business, and which is obviously a big part of commerce. But commerce is evolving every day. How we transact, whether it be cash or whether it be UPI or whether it be credit card, our abilities to transact are ever evolving and ever changing as a business and as a consumer as well. But with that comes culture, and then there's credibility. Who do I believe, right? In fact, we heard Anurag earlier today talking about an 18-year-old having a multi-million-dollar business as well, right? And then you have the old players who are saying we've been here for years. Credibility plays a big role. Before we get into the intertwining of the three things, let's talk a little bit about credibility. What it takes to maintain credibility and also grow credibility. Abinash, maybe we start with you on how you do that with Zydus Wellness.
Yeah. So definitely credibility is an important imperative step while we're evaluating the influencer. Let's start from the evaluating of the influencer. So we do it like both way, in the qualitative way and the quantitative way. Quantitative way, of course, we know about that engagement rate, views, and the kind of response rate what we are getting. But the most important thing, the most filter is the qualitative way. Think about one of our brands is Everyouth. It's a leading skincare brand and it has a very good market share in the scrub and the peel-off category. So we define the TZ. So it's important that our persona of the influencer should sync up with the archetype of the TG. Yeah. So we define it as a Everyouth girl. Yeah. Everyouth girl, think about it, say she's a college girl. She listens to her heart. She's not much into lifestyle. She doesn't do much makeup. So while selecting the right influencer, we also go to the profile and we check that whether the influencer shouldn't be much into lifestyle. We filter those attribution of the influencer. So that's important, like both from the qualitative and the quantitative aspects. Then only we can move to the credibility part.
Right. Krishnadas, I know we talked a little bit about backstage, and we were talking about two different markets and how the same brand behaves differently, right? And yet it's credibility. And with the internet all being interspersed, like I know my algorithm is completely messed up, right? So I'm getting content from different parts of the world right now, but it's the same person absorbing it all. How do you see that? Because I know there's a difference in how you behave as a brand in two different markets as well.
Thanks. First of all, thank you for having me on the panel. A pleasure to be here. Tata Consumer acquired Organic India. It's been a little more than a year. I think it's important to understand a little bit about the history of this brand, actually to answer that question. Organic India was founded way back in the 90s, more than 2 decades. Two founders who were originally non-Indian. They came to India and they wanted to do something to protect the traditional agricultural practices. And that was the intent, and we spoke about purpose, right? So they had a noble intent, and they also wanted to make products which healed people and planet at the same time. This was way back in the 90s, and to do that, they had to first go and convince one farmer in UP to start growing organic, which was not really a very familiar thing at that point in time, and that too tulsi, which was not a farmed crop. So one farmer believed in them, started doing it. Then he convinced other farmers in his vicinity. And today, more than 2,000 farmers work directly with Organic India to produce authentic organic products. So that actually helped the brand grow, and that was the common thread which drove a lot of credibility for the brand for the last 20 odd years to make it what it is today. But the last 4 to 5 years, maybe COVID became an accelerator. A lot of brands have started talking clean label, authentic, organic produce. So and people today have access to technology. So there is a lot of skepticism that is building in. And hence it becomes even more important for brands to dial up vectors of credibility. So when we acquired, what we realized is, we've been a pioneer. Organic India has been a pioneer in this space. So the first thing that we did is to reinforce the vector of credibility. And that's when we got on board a celeb for India, none other than Sachin Tendulkar, who epitomizes in a way credibility, trust. He's done it consistently over a long period of time. So while pharma was one reason to believe that our product is authentically organic, we also started highlighting other aspects of what makes the products authentically organic. So I think, and obviously we are also using influencer, the ecosystem, other known credible voices to spread the message, reinforce, to stand amidst the clutter. So while that's a strategy in India, in US where we have a significant business, while the fundamental remains the same, the execution is a bit different. We don't use a celebrity there, for instance. We use long-term partnerships with influencers who actually have been there with us for a long period of time, who dial up. But there, probably we don't talk about global certifications. We don't talk about testing. Probably they dial up the pharma story more because that's a matured market. People understand organic. So there, I think while the fundamentals remain the same, the execution is a little different. So that's where I would, leave this topic, yeah.
You reminded me of a personal story. Me and my wife have been looking for organic milk for a while. Because we like, with all the stuff mixed, we want the kids to be having organic milk. And every time we've called someone, the different partners for milk, everyone just nods to it saying, yeah, it's organic. But when you actually ask them what is organic, the answers are also very different. So it was interesting what you were saying about the maturity of the market, not only on the consumer side, but also on the seller side as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's important to really understand what's the consumer task and accordingly decide how you use your influencer strategy to build that credibility.
Yeah. Well, thank you. My next question is more for Gaurav. Gaurav, you're sitting at the intersection of, with Perfetti brands. You have a completely different approach to, things compared to, how Organic India does things. I mean, you are in the center of pop culture, if you will, with the brands you have, and you're talking to, I wouldn't say you're talking to a younger audience. You're talking to an audience that probably is a little bit more, is evaluating your brands and your products differently or in a different mindset, when they are approaching Organic India with what they want to do, But pop culture is a big part of how your brand stays relevant, and there is a fine line between the brand owning it and letting the influencer propel it versus the influencer taking the limelight. And where do you strike that balance, when you're going to market with that?
So I really had this hard time in understanding why most of the influencer campaigns fail, if at all they fail. So as per me, if any influencer campaign fails, it's not because the content or the creator is not right, it's because the wrong person is saying the right things. I say this often, culture decides who gets to speak, and commerce decides how loud a brand should speak. And an ideal way is culture should always lead and commerce should always follow. Commerce should not dictate what culture should say. Unfortunately, advertisers like us, they treat creators like media inventory and not cultural voices. What is a cultural fit? Cultural fit is if you are talking about relevance, if you are authentic, if you are in the same tonality of your brand, and then you absolutely are cultural fit. So we often ask this question to our partners and to my team. Whenever you evaluate an influencer campaign or a creator campaign, of course, reach and cost is one of the most important aspect, but do ask this question to yourself: does this person naturally fit to the conversation you want to be part of? Does their tonality, their humor, their language, their habits is as same as of the brand and of the audience lives? If the answer is no, then trust me, no amount of views can fix it. You burn as much money as in a campaign, but it will not translate into anything because you're just force-fitting your brand into that specific creator and that specific content. specifically for brand like us, we sell candies. No, it's fun. It's prize there to be won. There is no science to it. There is no. You don't need to explain your consumers too much about the benefits or non-benefits of having a candy. It's shareable. It's nostalgic. It's everyday fun. So creators don't need to generally oversell our products. They just need to have those moments of shareability, of enjoyability, which people are already doing it with their partners or their loved ones. If we do the content right way, how the audience is also perceiving, I think then we are culturally fit. And there's again a cultural test we also do while selecting a creator campaign. If we remove the brand from the content creator, and the creators still post the same stuff, then I think it's a right culture fit. So for example, for one of our brands, for mentors, we associated with Munna Bhai. There was no relation for brand and then the creator. We were asking him to do something else out of his personality, but he is known for Munna Bhai. But we got a lot of pushback from our partners and from the creator. But when he listened to him, we were genuinely very happy, because we didn't force fit our brief to the creator. We listened to the creator, and we found a sweet spot of how we can marry our brand with the creator's narrative. And then the commerce eventually follows. It depends on you how much money do you want to put into commerce. For us, commerce should be, the brand should be largely visible. You should have a clear CTA to it. Don't confuse the audience. And then eventually you will get to see the results.
I mean, there's partly, it's almost treating the influencer kind of as your audience and your ambassador. They play a dual role, right? Because if they don't appeal to your audience and they don't appeal to brand, like you said, they could say whatever they want. Everyone's just going to move on.
Exactly, and the audience are smart these days. They identify if a person is trying to oversell any brand or so. So I think brands really need to understand because creators knows their audience more than anybody else does.
Yeah.
So I think we should, it's always should be culture first, and commerce, I think, should follow culture, and then I think we get to see the results.
Great. Well, thank you. Fauzan, you obviously, with Social Tweebs, you closely work with creators on the other side. Some of these gentlemen here probably are, demanding things that you maybe disagree with, right? How do you really manage the relationships between brand and influencers, if you will? Because yes, there's data. Yes, this is the right person. But I'm just building upon what Gaurav was saying, and you could get whoever you want, but if it's not the right fit, if they're not using the right, it might be the right person but using the wrong words, or wrong person using the right words, it's not going to work, right? At that point, all that data goes for a toss. Right? And I think it's a fine balance, because obviously the guys here are pressured with conversion, and your agency is pressured with, we got to entertain or there will be no engagement. And then you have the influencer who has their own point of view, and you're probably somewhere in the middle going, but guys, I'm telling you, this might work or that might work.
Basically, the role is of joining the dots. Right. So just to quickly take you a little background of who we are. So we've been in the business for the last, I think, 12 years now, under Ventus Avenues. We were a big performance marketing agency, and we've been working with all agencies over the last 12 years. Post-COVID, we pivoted into influencer marketing, so it was a natural transition. And the reason we moved into that direction was because we were already in touch with marketeers, and we were listening to them and understanding what the problem was. So the problem was that we don't have any data which can justify the spends what we are doing on influencer marketing beyond views, right? And are these really genuine views which are coming through? So to address the first point was, am I working with the right influencer, right? Is he really making the right noise? And most important, am I reaching to the right audiences? Because he becomes just a mouthpiece, right? The creator becomes the mouthpiece who's trying to reach out to his audiences, right? And the brand's objective is to reach out to the respective audiences. So we started building on the tech. Now with the tech being there, we can actually analyze and see through a lens to every creator, who she is, what kind of content he or she is creating, what are the audiences, are these audiences really consuming the content which this creator is creating. So I may be a creator with 1 million followers, but out of which how much of those percentage of audiences are consuming the content which the creator is creating.
I followed you once and then I forgot about you after that.
Absolutely, right? Also, what's important is to understand who are these people? Are they genuine enough?
Yeah.
Or they are just bot followers coming from random places across the globe? See, there are pressures across the system. You have a demand to the creator. I'm paying you this much. I need this much views. But are these views coming in from his audiences? Or are these people actually viewing? So if you genuinely see, 90% of the views are coming outside the following base. Right? So actually you're working with the creator, keeping in mind, oh, he's making resonating content. I like his piece. He's making really good content. But are the views genuine enough with his own followers? No. Today when we go and meet brands, we see that 30 to 40% of the creators they have worked with have below 50% credibility. Below 50%. That means 50% of the monies are going down the rabbit hole. They have no ROI for that. Either they are fake followers, followers from different countries, or dead accounts which are being just used from bot farms and being just followed so that you get your views and you are like, showing to your management that, oh, I have got these many views. So there's a big ecosystem there, but how do we address that? So when you actually work with data and science, deep dive into every creator, analyze every creator, see what he or she is really creating. Are the audiences genuine enough, right? Am I going to get views, right, from his or own followers? Then only you first shortlist and say, okay, I want to work with this creator. You set your expectation right with the creator and say, boss, this is what I want. Now, whether you'll be able to deliver that, yes or no. Yes, your content is great. I'm not going to, like Gaurav mentioned, right? He said, we're going to find that sweet spot to work with the creator, give him the creative freedom. But at the same time, I want to ensure that my content which you're creating for my brand is consumed by your audiences. So that's the game.
Yeah.
If you're not getting that right, your money's gone down the rabbit hole.
I think you have a double whammy on authenticity there, right?
Yeah.
You need to be authentic to yourself as an influencer and yet not lose the authenticity of the brand. And I think that's
Absolutely.
where,
Absolutely.
at least my observation is, a lot of influencers sometimes, or marketers, miss the mark on that because we're getting to say something that is not natural to them, or they're getting so into salesy mode, they're less of an influence, more trying to play the sales team's job.
True. And we've seen that. I think Gaurav rightly mentioned, right? He's mentioned that if you're going to make it very salesy, people are not interested. Then what are you going to do? You're paying him the buck, so you still want the views. So what are you going to do? You do run ads because you have to justify the spends. Right? You've taken a creator, you've given him 10 lakhs, but how do I ensure that 10 lakh ROI is there? So then that's where you have to ensure that you find the right balance to ensure the creative is right, the audiences are right, and I'm getting the ROI.
Yeah, so I'll like to add to a point. I think regional and creative nuances are very important. For example, a habit, a joke, a phrase might differ from state to state. Unfortunately, a lot of brand managers are there on, I'm not trying to sell or desell any platform, but they're on Insta.
Sorry?
They're on Instagram. So
Right.
their first preferred platform becomes Instagram and not any other platform because they are consuming Instagram. For example, if they are North Indians, so their first preferred choice of creators becomes North Indian because they follow them or they see
They
them.
follow them, yeah.
But as a brand, we're deeply penetrated. I mean, from across the country, tier 2, tier 3. I think we, as an advertisers and as an agencies and creators, we also need to evolve and form a system where we also get to see, besides the top 10, top 15 creators, there are also thousands of creators who are doing amazing jobs across different geographies. And they're also helping solve different challenges for different brands. But we still have that, I think, freedom to choose the platform which we are on or the creators which we get to see. So I think we somehow we need to evolve that system and somehow to change that habit from our end.
Yeah, and I think that's really refreshing to hear because, given, your own demographic, your own personal taste, that rubs off on the brand as well, while you're really designing the brand for the audience. And I think the culture part, while we say the creativity needs to appeal to culture, I think marketers' personal taste needs to be in line with culture as well. And I think that's where the taste, the subjectivity comes in. Because as a creative, there are many times I'll walk into one of the rooms to present ideas to one of you guys, and I'll be like, I know this is going to work. This is going to be amazing, right? And I think the difference in taste, if you will, or difference in perspective, could completely go from the best idea to you just bombed a meeting.
Yeah, of course, yes, and there are a lot of examples. I can quote one of the recent one. We're working with a creator from brands. He gave a really great output to us, but we were not happy with it because it was not based on our brand guardrails, etc. It was brand safe, but it was not as per my brand manager's wish. So we asked them not to post it. Because my brand manager was not happy with the type of content he made because he does not consume that particular content. But then he went to Goa for a chutti and he posted without permission. Of course, that is incorrect, but the content was really nice. We got good responses from that particular content, and that's a learning for us that there should not personal biases of what we are consuming as advertisers, and we should give freedom to the creator community as well.
Yeah, I mean. It just opens up one question, and then Gaurav, I'm going to come to you for the next one. But to what you said, I think this is an open question for actually all three of you. Something interesting you said. It was within brand guidelines and was safe and all that stuff, right? And sometimes you get something unexpected. It may be good. It might be, edgy for the brand or go beyond what you may have planned for the brand. There is so much content noise out there, right? I mean, yes, you could argue one horrible piece of content could bring the brand down. I mean, there are a lot of people you have to answer to when that happens. But when something trends and goes viral, everybody raises their hand going, I was in that room. How open are you as marketers to sometimes, that if I'm briefing out 5 influencers, let's put a one wild card in there, which is not something I'd have approved normally. And let's see what comes back. Because we talk about culture, and culture is constantly evolving. There's bhajan parties happening today. I don't think my dad ever thought that would happen, right? That is culture. There are things that are going on today which, maybe we didn't grow up on. So it's a question on, and yes, I understand it costs money, but it's also an opportunity to evolve as a brand, right? Probably for some of the Perfetti brands, it's a little bit easier, I would say, on the surface.
It is not, trust me. It is not.
But...
So if you had asked me this question 3 months back, I would have said no. We really want to be brand safe and on the brand guardrails, etc. But we have also evolved over time, and we're also learning this community is different. The platform algorithms are changing a bit. There is a trend called doom scrolling. There is a trend called bloom scrolling. So we take this liberty for one of our brands, which is Chupa Chups, which is again in the fun zone. And we have taken this learning again from agency partners. They've given us a lot of dope on what other brands are doing and how that is helping them. And you'll get to see something soon for that brand in the coming days. So we are experimenting as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, just adding on. I don't think there is a common playbook on this. I don't think there is a template. And it actually depends on the categories you operate in. It's not necessary that all categories, you throw like you said, wildcard out there who probably don't conform to, but there are some categories where it's important to ensure that the core values of the brand, we don't, because some of these brands have been built over maybe 10, 20, 30 years. They are not today's brands that just popped up. They stand for something, and that's the reason why consumers today buy into that brand. So it depends on the category, it depends on some brands. It's important that you don't, you decide for yourself whether you want to actually preserve the core values, because the values are not built overnight. It has taken decades to build those core values. So while yes, you for playful brands, maybe it makes sense for some content to be edgy, interesting. I think the narrative style can vary, but at the end of the day, if the core values are preserved, probably that makes sense for some categories to operate in. So I don't think there is a common template at the moment. Probably will evolve as we go along.
Yeah, so adding to his point also, like to-dos and not to-dos would be there with the brand, but the flexibility should be there with the creator. The way they speak, the tonality, the dialect, that should be there. Then they know like how they better connect with the followers. How they can drive better engagement rate. So I think the flexibility should be there at the creator end also.
Cool. How many of you have, thank you for that. Just moving on to another subtopic today. Sure. How many of you have had kids in the last 7 to 8 years here? Anyone in the room, kids last 7 to 8 years? Okay, so I guess a few, the rest of you don't have kids, or you're too young, or what's going on? I mean, Coco Melon blew up everyone's minds, right? I mean, that was, while the kids loved it, it was a brain rot for the adults, right? That sound comes on and the kids get excited, the adults are like traumatized by it, you know. And, you know, Gaurav, I wanted to ask you, you do a lot with sound and, you know, identity and music and everything, you know. I mean, in recent times, Coco Melon is one of the perfect examples of digital content that triggered emotion. You know, and it was a mixed emotion depending on who you are, kid or parent, right? But that sound in itself represents the brand more than the name itself. And as we're talking about influencers and influence, what role do you see actual sound design playing in there? Yeah, I'll start with that, and then I have a follow-up question to that as well.
Sure. Thankfully, I've moved from the Coco Melon days. My daughter is 6 now, and she's listening to K-pop, Demon Hunters. But those Coco Melon days kind of trigger a scary feeling when we were barely sleeping. But just to give you guys a bit of a context, I run a startup called Hoopr. And we are a music technology company. We have 2 broad divisions. The first is providing copyright-safe music to content creators and brands. Just found out, in fact, the Social Tweebs has used Hoopr. We have over 4 lakh creators today that use the platform, from Ranveer Brar to Ashish Vidyarthi to Sadhguru to even Devendra Fadnavis's YouTube channel. And now we've also got Bollywood music, because we believe that brands, when they use music on social media, should use it responsibly. They need to license music. So that's one part of our business. And a lot of it is working with creators and brands on a day-to-day level when they soundtrack their videos and reels on social media. So that's a very micro usage that happens, sometimes multiple videos a day. Then on the other side, we realize that, okay, we understand a lot about brands. We have over 500 artists. We understand music so well. Why don't we provide some bespoke solutions to large brands in how to leverage music better to tell a story? It was a natural extension. We look at music as an influencer. I truly believe, I was a music director before I started this company. So music is a big influencer, right? आज की डेट में धुरंधर सुपर हिट हुआ तो वो अक्षय खन्ना डांस कर रहा है उस गाने पे. It, you know, slays when that song lands, right? So music is a path breaker, and we have used music to create identities for large brands, songs, sonic identities, and so on. I find this topic really cool because I feel all the good brands that I've worked with, and these could be, so some of our recent clients include ITC Foods, Marico, Ultratech, 2Yum, right? And we've built these IPs for large brands. We've realized that, one, they really know their own audience and their culture very, very well. The same holds true even for good content creators. I've seen somebody like an Ashish Vidyarthi use music so intelligently, you'll think it's a film director. उनके हर YouTube video में इतने intelligently music use करते हैं. Even somebody like a Flying Beast, or somebody like a Mr. Indian Hacker. He's one of India's top 5 YouTubers. He uses our music. Because of him, our songs become popular later on Spotify. So number one, this entire bit of knowing your own brand, knowing your culture is super important. The second is, if you do it consistently, you stick to what you believe in as a brand, then you build credibility, you build more trust because you are consistent. I spoke of Durandar, right? We all follow various actors, but one of the guys who stayed consistent in his personality is an Akshay Khanna. चाहे भले ही बाकी लोग कुछ भी कर रहे हैं यार, वो अपना straight है. I don't want to have children. I will not dance outside and so on.
You don't have to listen to Coco Melon.
Exactly. He wouldn't have to listen to Coco Melon. And the third is when that happens, it automatically leads to commerce. One of the things that Anurag mentioned today was authenticity. I think that is extremely, extremely important. Most good brands here and probably everybody here, right? Be it a Perfetti, be it a Zydus or a TCPL, they would know their audience very well. But sometimes you have to have some room for experimentation. Okay, recently we were doing a song for Bingo Tede Mede, that's ITC Foods. Okay, and the brand really knew its keywords. They said Bingo Tede Mede is a rebellious brand, it's anti-establishment and so on and so forth. So we made a song in our brand solutions team. We created a song which had the hook, Kabhi seedhe to kabhi tede mede, bingo leke chale, tede mede. Idea ये था कि गाने के hook में tede mede आना चाहिए. But now who should sing it? This is what you mentioned, right? So the folks in the room, they were senior people, so they believed a Sonu Nigam should sing it. They wanted to launch this product to build awareness in UP and Bihar, right? Now the whole idea of Sonu Nigam comes from a personal taste because the people in that room felt Sonu Nigam is a great singer. But not for this song. If your brand is anti-establishment, rebellious, then you can't have a Sonu Nigam. सोनू निगम गाएंगे तो बड़ा मीठा कभी सीधे तो कभी टेढ़े मेढ़े नहीं यार मज़ा नहीं आएगा. So who else can carry it? Then we thought Mika Singh is the guy. कभी सीधे तो कभी टेढ़े मेढ़े हाँ ये लगेगा. But Mika Singh यूपी बिहार में relevant नहीं है. तो क्या करें? Then we turned to data finally and we realized there are two guys, Pawan Singh, Khesari Lal Yadav. None of us in the room had heard Pawan Singh songs or Khesari songs, okay? But we said let's go with Khesari Lal. The song trended, super hit. When Khesari came to shoot here in Film City, everybody from the drivers to the watchmen were running behind him. The brand knew it was super hit gana already. So I feel sometimes you have to take that plunge to understand what is going to work for your brand, knowing your culture. If I were to do something, let's say with Tata, we had presented this idea at Brew, which was Swar, say songs without a reason, for Tata Tea, right? They stand for Jagore. So can we have songs that have more depth, more meaning, and we stay consistent? I come from that belief that when you stay consistent with an idea for a long time, वो ना compound होता है पैसे की तरह. When you keep it invested, value investing करते हो तो it compounds. When we chase short-term results, it can go completely haywire. Only a Coke studio, according to me, has stayed consistent for a long time, and we have all seen the results. It's compounded. So these days, what I'm obsessed with, say if I were to work with a Zydus or a Perfetti, right? We had in fact done an IP with Double Mint called Double Mint Fresh Take. And the idea here is, can the brand stay invested in a certain sound, in a certain type of artists, a certain messaging through the music? And we've seen that that starts building culture, that starts building credibility, and eventually it leads to commerce. So I would like to sum it by saying that number one, all good brands here know their audience, they know their culture really well. And yet they may want to take a few risks once in a while. They may want to go out of that box. So sometimes not a Sonu Nigam, but a Khesari Lal Yadav will work for you. You have to stay consistent, and that builds credibility. And eventually the commerce is something that I feel is a byproduct of doing these things right.
Oh, thanks for that. I mean, my follow-up question to that was going to be, you're dealing with two parties just on this topic today, right? You have the brands and you have influencers, right? And like you said, there are brands who use Sonic really well, and then there are influencers who use Sonic very well. Whose Sonic usually ends up being more engaging? When a brand who has a strong Sonic system in place and hires an influencer that also uses Sonic really well? Or is there an opportunity for a remix?
Okay, this is a tricky question, but first I'll tell you that it's very risky when the Sonic is left to the influencer. The last week we have had 5 lawsuits going out where the influencer used a trending song and bill bichare brand pe fata hai, because they actually commission folks. इन्होंने trending गाना use कर लिया and the next thing you know, you've got a lawsuit from a label. So it's very risky when you leave it to the influencer. But I've seen that a brand typically should engage with influencers, as Fauzan was saying, the right people should be engaged. That is very important. Then it's like you've got an expert, now let him or her do their job. Okay, you've got that influencer because you trust their storytelling, you trust their creativity. Then telling them which track to use sometimes becomes a challenge. Let them tell their story their way. Let them figure out what to use. It's important, of course, to make sure that whatever they use is licensed and so on. But I've seen that the ultimate magic today is coming from the end influencer who's out there creating stuff that nobody in a boardroom or a conference room can think of. The individuals left to their own devices, influencers, they're extremely creative, and brands need to have that little bit of trust. I get 100 people, I let them do their job. I feel that is a lot more exciting. Even when we make music for or with brands, I feel at one point sometimes you have to tell a brand, trust us, because it's going to be, you've got us for this particular task, right? अगर आप ही लिखोगे पूरा गाना, तो it will not probably do as well, right? So sometimes it's important to let the intelligence come from the brand and then let the magic come from the influencer.
I like that. Cool. So, you touched a little bit on follower count and metrics and all that. I'm curious to know, with the various categories that you guys have or are talking in, what is your personal criteria that you see as a success metric when you've hired a bunch of influencers?
Sure. I'd like to take that question. Definitely, the matrices are there, like engagement rate, how much views, how much people are commenting on that content. But if I say, like, if I'm doing a big budget campaign, then I also check the SOV. Yeah. So in this, for example, I'm doing a campaign on Everyouth, and in the skincare category or within that subcategory, how much SOV it's driving compared to the competition. Also, if you do a high budget campaign, you can see the spike on the search also. There is a search lift. We see, when I'm talking about search, I'm not talking about only Google search. I'm talking about search across e-com platform also. If you do a big budget campaign on influencer, you can see that spike in the line graph. So definitely SOV would be another factor, search lift, the delta would be another factor. And of course, the media metrics would be there to engagement rate, how much response rate I'm getting, how much video views I have got. And that also depends on the kind of, what's the objective of the campaign. If I'm doing a campaign to drive category penetration, if I want to drive more reach, then views could be the KPI. Yeah. If I want a deeper conversation, then how much comments I'm getting and what type of comments I'm getting, that would be the KPI. So, yeah.
What are you guys' criteria for?
Yeah, so see, for us as a marketer, your brief starts with the marketing metrics that you want to move. It's typically brand health scores, right? Your mind measures. So today, a lot of D2C brands, a lot of online brands talk about the bottom funnel metrics. Yes, that is commerce, but for example, a lot of established brands, he spoke about Jagore. Now, Jagore is a social cause asset that we've built over the last 20-25 years. We don't do commerce there. It is a catalyst to move the equity, right? So what we do on Jagore will never have a direct commerce metric to measure. It's largely going to be, now can connect back. Are we creating a community out there? What's the community really doing? Originally, when Jagore was born, it was just a one-way communication to the audience. We put up, because obviously technology was not there the way it is today. Yeah. It was TVCs that spoke about corruption. It was about some other social cause. And then as we moved along, the last installment of the campaign was about making positive climate change, everyday actions, but then we leveraged tool. We realized that we've been carrying this community along with us. And the technology gave an opportunity for that community to actually come. It was pledged 10 years back, but today actually people, take photos of those small positive actions that they do for the planet, and then they post it and then they get rewarded. As a brand, we then plant trees. There are a lot of executions to it, right? So what it moves for us is not direct commerce metric. What it moves for us is brand health, equity. So for us, for some of the established brands, I think the metrics always stand from equity objectives. But then there are brands which are largely online, digital, where commerce is important. So again, it is subject to what the task is really.
Great. I mean, yeah.
I often say this to my agency: if likes paid the bills, then marketing would be easy. But unfortunately, they don't. But yeah, having said that, likes and views are very important for any campaign. I think these are not just vanity metrics, but that is a campaign hygiene, which I think every marketer and every agency should have in place. But the true success of a creator campaign lies what happens after when you create that content. And it differs from category to category. For example, in a high involvement category, if I were to sell let's say a high-end smartphone, and I do a creator campaign, one comment on asking about the feature about the phone, I think is far more important than 100 and 1,000 of likes. And for a low involvement category, which is like brands of Perfetti, we don't just evaluate the success of campaigns on likes and views, but what happens after that. For example, we ask the creator to create content which is more shareable, which is more playable, which is, we have a lot of different metrics in the platforms now, which is more reposted. Are people sharing it with their friends? Are people watching it repeatedly? We did a campaign with one of our brands called Center Fresh on Overthinking. It is nothing to do with mental health, but it's fun overthinking. For example, an average, so we did a research with YouGov. For example, an average Indian, Gen Z, takes about 4 hours to upload an Instagram story because they overthink which song to put in the background.
Usually we get less time in the agency world.
Usually?
We don't usually get 4 hours to get a story up.
Yeah, but apparently these people get a lot of time. So we didn't choose big creators specifically for this campaign because every creator, I believe, has a different metric and different objective for it. Some may get you reach and views, some will get you more engagement, some will get you more conversation. So we typically picked creators which will drove more conversations for us. And fortunately, we were able to drive a lot of conversations. So while creator posted stuff on how and why they overthink, not in a very funnier manner, but we saw people were also posting stuff on Instagram that how do they overthink when they have to overthink, and that was a success metric for us. We did a social listening for a campaign. How many people are speaking about overthinking as a subject? How many people are posting stuff organically on overthinking? And we got great results. So views, and I'll say views and likes are important, but what lies for the brand after when the content is posted, I think is something to look forward for.
Fauzan, anything different than?
I have a very different take to this because what I feel is when you are working in this creator ecosystem, what's very important is to analyze the creator, look into the matrix, right? And there's no standardized formula for every brand which everybody has to follow because every brand is in a different journey, right? So everybody needs to look into the creator insights, the audience insights, and see where they have found a sweet spot where they can marry each other and extract the maximum out of it, right? And that's where you see the best outcome coming in for whatever the commercial, the reel, the story which the creator has created. So it's very important that you look into the data a lot more with the lens so that you can analyze a lot more and you're at least sure that you're going to be there 50-60% of the outcome is there and you're kind of safe, because it's very, very unpredictable because you're working in such a dynamic environment, right? Because you have no control over the content or the kind of reel the creator is creating. So what you need to do is really deep dive and see, am I reaching out to my audiences? Is the creator right and is credible, genuine, creates resonating content and has a good history to his content which he or she has created, and then marry it with the audiences. Again, the audience insights will work, not work, and then move on.
So Gaurav, I have another question for you. there are days when I'm totally exhausted of staring at my screen, because whether it be doom scrolling, whether it be, when I'm finally not doom scrolling, some OTP will come through. Like, I sometimes feel like I just need another device just for all my OTPs. But there are times when I don't want to stop absorbing stuff. My brain is constantly ticking, but maybe my eyes don't want to absorb it. And, podcasts and audio-driven channels, there is a huge potential for that. One, cost-wise, it's cheaper to make relative to visual cues. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of brands maybe haven't yet really dug into an audio-first approach to influencing consumers. What is your take, just because you live in this world of sound, what is your take on a brand stepping into maybe thinking sound first, maybe thinking audio only? Now whether it is through music, like Coke Studios, or whether it is, they did video as well, but they could have very easily just been on an audio platform, right? Or just being audio, like talking, not music.
Sure, I think I truly believe that music is not explored to its potential by brands. We all know that music plays an important part in our lives. I don't think there's anybody here who doesn't listen to music. Ultimately, all brands, they're made up of human beings, they're selling to human beings, and music is a part that we should leverage. I probably, despite running a music company, would not say audio only approach, because visual is a very crucial medium, so that has to be there. But the challenge that I have seen when we work with brands is that, they typically work with agencies, media agencies, creative agencies, who are not specializing in music. Just the way for influencers, you need somebody who's a specialist in influencers. Similarly, in music, you need somebody who can think that, okay, if, say, Zydus wants to do something in music across the year, what can we build which stays true to the brand and compounds over a period of time? The same for any other brand over here. When we started this, we realized that most brands, they have one activity that they do in music. Thoda spike aata hai, then they don't know what to do next, they move on to something completely different. Say you did music in March, in April you're doing pickleball or something like that, right? Great, that's fine, but you need to have a consistent layer of music happening throughout, right? And that consistency is very, very, very important. And that sonic identity, that music should become the soundtrack for your brand. Today there was a news that Sanjay Leela Bhansali and Saregama, they tied up, right? Now, if any of you, I ask you to picturize Sanjay Leela Bhansali's visuals and music, there is a consistency in that. Even if somebody else might be doing fun, time pass music or party anthems, he did not go ahead. He believes in his story. Similarly, every brand here has a certain ethos, a certain persona, and they need to have music that goes well with it. Something that Gaurav mentioned and even Krishna mentioned, I would like to say, it's important sometimes to know the objective of what you want to do. So while music will happen, we are working with one brand, which is a BFSI brand. They want to build a year-long label kind of a thing in music with the idea, exactly what Krishna mentioned, there is no commerce angle at all to it. It is, we believe in this and we want to support the kind of music which tells our story in parallel. We know it will compound, it will probably underline our brand. And we've also, the Tede made an example, right? When we first started, he was very clear that mujhe wo top of mind spawned these matter to me. I do need to prove that this campaign works. We launched Himalaya's strawberry lip balm late last year around this time, and we took Monali Thakur. We created a phenomenal anthem. The idea there was social engagement. We were very clear that across the next 3 months, the number of shares, the number of conversations need to go up and the product needs to take off. So that objective is important. Whether you use music, let's say in the short run or long run, it's important what you want to do. But I think what I'm passionately these days trying to sit with brands to unlock is, and we're seeing that response, how does a brand have a soundtrack? Every single brand today has a persona. If they have a persona, then they will have their own sound, they will have their own soundtrack. And it's actually not that expensive today to make music or to create it in a sustainable manner. The effects are mind-numbing if you stick to it. Whatever a brand does, they shouldn't do it just, for a short run and depart. Then uska effect build nahi hota.
Okay. One last question. We have 30 seconds to go. It's going to be a rapid fire. We haven't planned for this. China just passed the law on influencers having to have degrees or actually be experts to be influencers. I feel in India, everyone's an influencer. I think our ratio of people who create content is way higher than other stuff at the moment. Some of your brands probably would benefit with a rule like that, but when it comes to credibility, some of you might not. Just as marketers and business owners, quick answer, do you think India should do that? And if yes, why?
I'll go first. I don't think we need a law. I'll tell you what's happening because privy to half of my brand sitting in US, right? There's a platform called Expert Voice, which we leverage in the US. Expert Voice is where certified professionals, be it a certified health professional, a retail associate, they have credible, they can only sign up on that portal if they are certified or skilled in a certain way. And they get to use a product, they're incentivized to use, test, and then what they put out there is in a way advocacy. It's like, a very distant example is what an urban company today, for example, does, right? They've kind of made a disorganized ecosystem into much more organized. Those guys coming there are having basic skill sets and they are certified, etc., etc. So if we are able to leverage or create such platforms, I think there are versions of it, but probably, it will be something that agencies can look at, an expert voice equivalent. A lot of brands which actually need to work in trust deficit categories can really leverage. So that's some learning that we have in another developed part of the world, yeah? So we don't need a law, we need more tools and platforms. Right.
Yeah, I believe in health and wellness category there could be law, because I believe there is a lot of misinformation which is across the social environment. So there should be strict law for at least for health and wellness category, and there could be on few more categories. Yeah.
All right.
The products we sell, no laws needed, but definitely there should be some regulation, some structured way we should be put into this entire community.
Awesome. If you need an expert for candy eating, I can join you for
Definitely.
that. That could need some expertise. But thank you all of you for joining us this morning. Hopefully you heard something that you haven't heard before, and this unpacked some new stuff for you guys, and to see how these minds work as well. And hopefully the sound of Coco Melon won't leave your minds all day long. Thank you so much, and hopefully we see some splash made in culture that converts more business.
Thank you so much.